Welcome into the crease, and today we are going to be talking about how the Predators have been on a heater, and does that make them possible dark horses for a Stanley Cup run? And out of all of the teams that are currently holding on to a playoff position, non-wild card to be specific, which one is most likely to be eliminated in the first round, and who could be other dark horses in the playoffs with less than a month away? All this and more next on the crease. Welcome into the crease, and before we get into all that good hockey action we're going to be breaking down, I want to give a big shout out to one of our sponsors, and that is W's. You see the sticker right here on my microphone. We are sponsored by W. It is a non-sugar, non-maltodextrin energy supplement that is all natural, everything you need, nothing you don't, jitterless for that perfect mental focus that you need when you are doing just about anything that requires you to focus. All right, let's be real here. If you're trying to do schoolwork, you're sitting here running this podcast like I am, you're, everything and anything that requires just pure mental focus, none of the distractions or jitteriness that you get from other energy supplements. W is your supplement. They have a slew of flavors. I just ordered their orange creamsicle flavor. I'm waiting to try that out. I've got a few servings left of my beach and peach that I got, which is absolutely amazing. Tastes like peach rings. So they got tons of stuff, and they don't just have energy supplements. They also have gear, merch. You see the sticker pack I got right here. They got all kinds of stuff. Plus, they have hydration supplements for when you need to get your hydration on. If you're an athlete like I am, you go out there, you got to play in your sport. You need a good hydration supplement. W has that for you as well. Use our code, TheHouseCall, all caps, no spaces, TheHouseCall, and get yourself 10% off. Plus, right now, if you order an energy supplement, you can add a hydration supplement to your order, and they will give it to you for free. So go to w.gg. You can use the link in the description of this video to use our code, as well as use our code just by going to w.gg anyway, and get yourself that jitterless energy supplement right now. You need it. You know you do. So Gage is not here.
He is not.
And that's okay. That's okay. That is okay, because I got my boy Ian with me. And we're going to be discussing a topic that Ian has been talking about for a hot minute. And that is the fact that since February, the Predators have been absolutely crushing it. Okay. They are 18-4-2 over that course. They are plus 27 in that span and goal differential. They have been absolutely cruising. And you can tell by the standings right now where the Predators currently hold the number one wildcard spot in the Western Conference at 90 points. They could easily have they have the same amount of points as Vegas, right? If they were in that division, they would have that spot. Vegas would be out. Let's be real.
They would.
And they are going to be probably a dark horse to go in here. And the way it's looking right now, they would go and visit who, Ian? Who would they go and visit? Tell me who they go and visit.
Would they be going to visit my Dallas Stars, or would they going to be visiting the Vancouver Canucks?
Well, your Dallas Stars currently have 103 points.
So I'm going to guess the Vancouver Canucks, because I don't think Vancouver has 100 yet, unless they got there last night.
They do have 100 right now.
Okay, so they'd have that. So they'd be going and playing through the Pacific Division and playing Vancouver.
And wouldn't it be crazy to see the Preds go into Vancouver, who's riding high, and eliminate Vancouver in the first round?
It would be crazy.
Wouldn't it?
But honestly, not unprecedented. I could see it. If there's a division champ or a high seed that's going to get knocked off early, and I've been harping on this all year, and so is Gage until he stopped being present. We wish him to be back full time soon, like you said. If there's a team that's going to fall apart, it would be Vancouver. The way Nashville's playing right now, they're white hot. UC Saros is one of the best goalies in the league. He's a money goaltender. They don't have the hot end skill. They've only got two guys you really think of when it comes to their high end talent in Philip Forsberg and Roman Josi. But all around, they're a very solid, well-rounded unit. And the Canucks are just kind of fading a little bit at the wrong time. And Thatcher Demko, their goalie, is on LTIR. They're not doomed by any means, but if there's a series for an upset, this is it. And I'm excited to see what the Preds can do. My one concern with Nashville, though, is did this current streak, especially the 18-game point streak where they went 16-0-2, is that streak going to burn them out in the playoffs? Are they going to be too tired to keep it going? So that's my one question. But I think if they play Vancouver in round one, it's favorable for them.
Absolutely. And it's funny you were saying, did they peak too early? Their last two games have not looked good. It was an 8-4 loss to Arizona and a 7-4 loss to the Avalanche. So before that, they only scored less than 3 goals in 4 games. They were 2-2 in those games. Every other game they have scored more than that. They've scored at least 3 goals or more. In some of these games, they've scored 8, 7, 5. They have been pouring it on consistently, and it is actually incredible the offensive production they've been getting out of this team. And the goaltending, it's been pretty solid for them as well. They have a few shutouts here and there, a couple 1-2 goal games that the goalie's given up there. But at the end of the day, the offense is what's surprising me the most. I did not see this coming from the Preds. I didn't think they really had. And they kind of have an okay, I guess, offensive team. But when you look at them, they're nothing overly, like you would say, great. I mean, they're at 244, which is right there in the playoff run. But if you look at some of the competition they're going to be going up against, realistically, they're one of the lowest goal scoring teams in the playoffs. I think the Panthers are a lower goal scoring team than them, but they have a significantly better goaltender.
They do.
Besides that, you got the Capitals at 201, the Philadelphia Flyers at 219, and you have the Jets at 224, and then the Knights at 238. So, I mean, there's only like 4 teams out of the 16 that are, the 16 teams that are going to be in the playoffs that have less goal scoring than the Preds, but they have been on an absolute heater lately, just finding the back of the net. And it is incredible to see, especially over that course of these games. And they're still looking good. Yeah, they've lost 2, but they're 7-2-1 in their last 10. That's not bad. That is not
at
bad.
all.
If you look at the playoff teams right now, like a lot of the good playoff teams that you're seeing here, they're all kind of in that sort of realm of 8-2, 8-1-1, 7-2-1, in their last 10. There's a lot of teams that are like that. In fact, there's only a few teams that have a losing record that are playoff bound right now in the last 10, and that's the Florida Panthers, who are 4-5-1, and the Jets, who are 3-6-1, and absolutely look like they are falling apart right now.
They do.
So it is going to be a rather interesting sort of deal here, because the Preds are still white hot, and I think they're peaking at the right time. I mean, looking at their schedule, you fast forward, we're in April now.
That's what I was going to harp on next.
They got 8 games. You got 8 games left. You keep this mentality. You ride hot into the playoffs, and you're playing together. You're on cloud 9, and you're going up against a team that's sort of, we were waiting for them to peak. When was it going to happen? And it looks like Vancouver is kind of leveled off right now. So you come in white hot against a team that's sort of leveled off, and maybe they're coasting, maybe they're not. You
never know.
It remains to be seen. But yeah, I like what the Preds are doing. I think they got a really good shot here, and their schedule over the final, the final 3 weeks or so of hockey we got here. Obviously the 15th is their final game in Pittsburgh against the Penguins. So but they got the Bruins, the Blues, the Islanders, the Devils, the Jets, the Blackhawks, the Blue Jackets, and the Penguins. So they don't have like a terribly hard schedule to finish out April. Obviously, the Bruins, Blues, and the Jets are their primary concern. The Islanders, I think they're going to handle the Islanders. So they have a favorable schedule. They're coming in white hot. They're feeling good. I don't see how you can't be on the train right now with, get on the wagon, people. The Predators are for real. And this is actually incredible, because we did not see this happening. No, Predators fans, you cannot look me in the eye and say that you didn't think you were some quasi rebuild sort of year. You didn't. This is an overperformance right now. This is an overperformance. You and the Blues right now are overperforming. If the the Blues probably aren't making it. I think that
Blues won't make it. They're too far out. I'm gonna go ahead and look at their point totals right now.
82. They're at 82, and the Kings are 87.
Yeah, the Blues are done. Nashville, this last streak kind of saved their season. And like you said, their schedule isn't overly difficult. I think I'm going to rattle off their schedule again and just go down games where I think they win for the rest of the month. They've got, I believe, 7 or 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games left in the season, and it's a bit of a mixed bag. Boston, I'm not sure about Boston. I think the Preds could steal that one. They should beat the Blues. The Islanders will be a tough game, but I think they've got them. They can beat the Devils. You have to jump. If there's a time you want to jump into third in the Central, this is the time to do it because the Jets are fading, and the Jets are the 5th game on the schedule in the month of April to close out the season. So I think the Predators are going to see that as an opportunity and jump on them early. Plus, you close out your schedule with 3 weak opponents. You could get a little bit of momentum going into the playoffs. And if you jump them, then you don't necessarily get the matchup you want in Colorado. That's not an easy matchup at all for any team, but you get some momentum going into that series. You're gonna feel confident. You're gonna be riding high. So I like the Preds so far. I don't know if they peaked earlier, if they're just starting to coast, kind of bring it down a little bit before the playoffs. I think the additions they made at the deadline with guys like Jason Zucker in particularly has stuck out to me. He's been really good over this last stretch. They've been solid. So I like their odds. I think they might need to pull back a little bit and coast, but at the same time, I think they're going to be good to go come playoff time. This is a group with playoff experience. They've got some vets that have been there and done that, and they'll be looking to get it done again.
So here's the question, right? Obviously, as it stands right now, they're lining up to go through the Pacific Division. That is a pretty tough division. You do have the Canucks, who, even though they've kind of looked like they've leveled off, are going to be tough. You have the Edmonton Oilers, who I am fully on board with. I think that even Stuart Skinner's come out and said he's more prepared for the playoff run this year. He's more dialed in. He's more like locked in, ready to go, especially with the way that they're playing unselfish hockey right now on the offensive side. And then you got the Golden Knights right now who are moved up, but they're currently, the Kings are still in striking distance there on the Golden Knights to possibly, swap that back out to where the Knights fall back into the wild card there. But it's going to be a tough road. Those are 3 tough opponents. So I want to get your rating here. Your feeling on this question, a 1 to 10, 1 being you're not confident at all, 10 being you're super confident. What is your confidence level in the Predators making a Stanley Cup run?
6.
It's not bad. It's not.
No,
that's better. I will take a 60% chance from a wild card team. I really will. I mean, don't forget last year's Eastern Conference representative,
second wild card,
was a wild card team. All right,
that's true.
And they went on a run. And so I'm not saying that the Predators, although they do have a big cat as their logo, so maybe there is some similarity there, are the Florida Panthers. But never say never.
No, not at all.
Never say never. And Panthers fans, actually, you know what? I'm a Bruins fan. I saw that the Bruins are going to be in town on the 2nd. I almost bought tickets. I should have. I didn't realize it was
My
coming
tickets.
up. It snuck up on me.
Oh, it's tomorrow, isn't it?
It's tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, and you've got like a 5-hour drive to Nashville, don't you, if you try to make that trip?
It was a 2-hour drive, but yeah.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
I'd make that drive.
I have prior commitments, so I can't go.
Oh,
but,
sounds like an excuse, Joe.
But
I hate to say it.
nothing would make me happier than the Predators making the Stanley Cup and somehow my Boston Bruins figure it out and me getting to go to a couple Stanley Cup games up in Nashville wearing my Bruins jersey. I'd be down for that. But I'm right there with you. I think
that doesn't happen.
Right, that'd be bad. But a 6 is, I'm right there with you. I think a 6 is reasonable. It's enough for that. I feel that they're gonna upset somebody. I feel like right now that's the Canucks. I think the Canucks don't want that matchup. They would prefer.
They prefer Winnipeg.
They would prefer anybody else. The thing is I don't know if the Predators can catch the Jets. It really is going to depend on how the Jets perform. Which right now, like I said, they're 3-6-1.
What are the Predators and Jets points totals, and what are games played for both of their teams?
They are 4 points different from each other.
Do the Jets still have 94 and the Preds have 90?
Yes. They both are 74 games in. They have 8 games remaining. The Jets' 8 games are the Kings, the Flames, the Wild, the Preds, the Stars, the Avalanche, the Kraken, and the Canucks.
That's kind of difficult. Let's run down the Jets schedule real quick, and I'm going to ask you win or loss on all these games for Winnipeg once I pull it up in the month of April. All right, so Kings-Jets.
Winnipeg's got them at home. I'm going to go Jets.
Flames-Jets in Winnipeg. Jets-Wild, Minnesota.
Jets.
Jets.
Predators.
Jets Stars. Stars have gotten them. Stars have gotten them 3 times this year, and it hasn't.
Stars are going for the sweep. They're going to get them.
Here's an intriguing one, and I'm going to put my input in. I'm going to give my input on this one after you give your take. Jets Avs in Colorado.
The Avs get them.
I think that's interesting because the Jets have, I think, 3. I don't think the Avs have beaten the Jets all year this year. Granted, the Avs are riding high right now. The Jets are kind of collapsing a little bit, but I think that should be a better matchup than most people think. Kraken Jets.
Jets.
Canucks Jets.
Canucks.
Okay, so they win what?
They go 4-4. 4-4.
So that should be enough to stave off Nashville.
I mean, you think about that, but then Nashville's got the Bruins. And they're in Nashville, but I think the Bruins are going to handle that game.
They should.
Then they get the Blues at home. I think they beat the Blues. They go for a back-to-back in New York and New Jersey. They get the Islanders and then the Devils. Mm-hmm. Come home for the Jets with an off day on Monday. Then they go a back-to-back Chicago or away and home, Chicago, and then the Blue Jackets at home. And then they finish off in Pittsburgh. I think the Predators. I think the Predators go 6-2, and
so that's
the Jets go 4-4.
That's 12
the Jets
points.
Go 4.
They'd end up tied in points. That's interesting. They'd end up tied in points. So let's go ahead and look. The Jets would have them on tiebreak. If they tie in points? I think
the Predators would have more wins.
The Predators would have more wins if they tied in points?
I think that would be at 102. They tied in points at 102. The Predators would have won 6 games, putting them at 49, and the Jets would have won 4 games, putting them at 48. The Predators would have 2 less overtime losses and 1 more win.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
And they'd be tied in points.
Side note, what's crazy here is that 102 in the Central is only good enough for a wild card. That's insane to me.
Well, I mean, the craziest thing is
the Central's so strong this year.
Yeah, I mean, your top 2 in the Central are already over 100 points, and your third in the Central is going to get to 100 or 102, most likely. And your wild card in the Central has a shot at getting to 102. So, I mean, you would have 4 teams. You'd have 4 teams out of the Central over 100 points, and it could come down to the final game to decide who your first wild card spot is, if it's Winnipeg or Nashville, which is even crazier at that point because that means that Nashville would then, instead of going and facing or be having to go to Vancouver in this situation, they would be going to Colorado.
That's not a good matchup. Now, if it comes down to goaltending, then I think Nashville would have them. If not, they would push them farther than anybody would think they would go. If that turns into a gun show, Colorado is going to sweep them or beat them in 5.
I mean, you would hope so, but at the same time, I felt the same way about the Bruins and the Panthers last year. And the Bruins had their chances.
But I think the difference between the Predators of this year and the Florida Panthers of last year, if you look at that Panthers roster, they had the high-end talent to go as far as they wanted to go. And they played such a gritty style that was going to wear on every team they played. And I think I said the high-end talent and the play style of the Panthers was going to determine how every series went, except the Vegas series. Vegas beat them at their own game, and not just beat them, they outclassed them.
Yeah.
That and Florida was injured. I just don't think they're the same team. I think that this Nashville team has better depth, in my opinion, than that last year's Florida team, but they don't have the high-end skill that I think they're a bit like, to me, they're kind of built like the New York Islanders with a little bit more firepower. In a sense that they don't have the high-end guys, but they're going to make it hard for you to win every single night. So I think that's going to eventually grind. Or it's last year's Seattle team that surprised Colorado in 7 games. They're kind of just deep. And sometimes that'll win you more games than you should in the playoffs.
So, final question here. If you're the Predators, do you want to go to Vancouver or do you want to face the Avalanche? Because those are your 2 options.
Vancouver.
And so if you're the Avalanche, then you might want to kind of coast this out.
Why not?
Win one here, win one there, but just kind of make sure you hang on to the wild card spot.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, are the Avs just going to say we'll let the Stars have the division?
They might.
There's that competitive nature. It's tough.
The real question is,
I don't know how to answer that.
The real question is, you look at the Avs and they go, hey, do we want to face the Jets or do we want to face the Kings?
True.
True. And like I said, the Jets look bad right now, but when push comes to shove, the guy in the crease in Winnipeg is no joke.
Not at all.
He can win a game on his own.
Who are you taking, Connor Hellebuck or Cam Talbot?
Right? Nathan McKinnon's sitting there in front of Talbot, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. So it is going to be an interesting final week in the West. The Predators are absolutely on a heater right now. 110%. I'm on board with them. Like I said, me and Ian here, both on a 6 on our confidence level on whether or not they can make a run. But Nashville, cherish this. You guys are where you didn't think you were going to be, and it is absolutely insane right now. And Nashville should be popping for their first playoff game. We've already kind of hinted at it. We're going to move on to our next topic. We've been talking about it a little bit. There are a lot of questions for teams that are currently not or in the playoffs, but not holding a wild card spot. These are teams that are going to make the playoffs, already figured they're making the playoffs. There's no way they don't make the playoffs. And right now they control their destiny. And those teams are from the top in the East down. You have the Boston Bruins, Florida Panthers, and Toronto Maple Leafs in the Atlantic, the New York Rangers, Carolina Hurricanes, and surprisingly, the Washington Capitals right now, who are tied with the Flyers. The Capitals currently have that 3 seed in the Metropolitan. And then in your Western conferences, we've already talked about the Dallas Stars, Colorado Avalanche, and the Winnipeg Jets in the Central, as well as the Pacific, Vancouver Canucks, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Vegas Golden Knights. So, Ian, give me one team in the East and one team in the West right now who is not a wild card team and is not seeing the second round in the playoffs.
Winnipeg in the West, and that's tough. I've got 2 here. Toronto in the East.
The funny thing is that by the time this is said and done, Toronto may be a wild card team.
Exactly. So you never know. And if Tampa gets that 3rd spot and plays Florida, ooh,
that's gonna be a series. And it's funny you say Toronto.
Now let me wind that back a bit. Just before you get going, if the standings stay the same, Boston. Tampa's got their number. Until they prove it to me that they can beat Tampa Bay in a 7-game series, which they haven't done since 2011, I'm not betting on you, especially after last year where you lost a 7-game series to a Florida team that had questionable depth and defense all year. Granted, they went to the finals, but nobody saw that coming. You're the best team in the regular season in NHL history, and you didn't get it done. You don't have as good center depth this year. Your depth is questionable. So, you have all that, and you would be matched up against Kucherov, who's on a mission, and a group that's been there and done that before. I'm not taking Boston in that series.
I feel you. Honestly, even as a Boston fan, I look at their record, 43, 17, and 15. No other team has
15 and OT.
Right? That's what I'm saying. The only teams who have double-digit overtime losses in the playoff or in overtime are the Bruins at 15, which is the most. The Capitals at 10, the Flyers at 10, and the Kings at 11. No other playoff team has more than 9. So I'm going to start in the East.
Boston.
I think Boston. As a Bruins fan, it pains me to say this, but Boston is I look at them and I'm like, you guys, all overtime losses tell me is that you're just going to play more hockey to lose. You don't have a clutch gene in your body.
That's what the Stars' problem was last year. We couldn't win in overtime.
You need to be clutch in the playoffs. You have to pull yourself up by your fucking bootstraps. Lace them up tight, boys. Gloves and all. Lace everything as tight as you can and go out there and play playoff hockey. Bruins style hockey. And right now, that doesn't look like it's happening. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, they're 23-9-6 at home. They're 28-9 on the road. That's pretty comparable to every other playoff team right now. So they're doing the right things. However, push comes to shove, they either lose in overtime or they lose outright. I don't see this. This team looks fraudulent to me on multiple levels, and it's crazy to think that a team with Brad Marchand and the way that Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman have been playing recently in their save percentages and those sorts of things, how they're moving up the board a little bit, all that coming together right now, and it just doesn't seem like it's enough. And so I'm going to go the Bruins. I think that best case scenario, it doesn't matter either way they go. If Florida gets you in points, you're hosting the Maple Leafs. And you want to talk about a man on a mission.
They win that series.
I think it goes 7. I think that Austin Matthews is playing out of his damn gourd right now. When it comes to did you see that 60th goal grinder he had?
Yeah, that was the biggest. That was a playoff goal. If you look at playoff style goals, he got it, he fought for it, earned it, and won it. That's how you score in the playoffs. And
that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know if that's the Austin Matthews that the Bruins see in round 1. I don't really like their chances.
Especially if you're Matthews matched up with who's your first line center, Pavel Zacha and Charlie Coyle.
Yeah.
That's not favorable for him.
No. And then you go, okay, well then we're gonna win. We're gonna win the Atlantic. Okay. Here comes
play Kucherov. A team that has your number.
Yeah, so they're in a bad spot. They are in a very, very bad spot, and it doesn't matter. I think that either way you look at the matchup they get, and it's going to be tough. And I think that's kind of, and then once you're done with that, if you make it through, which I'm not overly confident that they do. I think my confidence level in the Bruins making it out of the first round, either way this falls, is like a 3, maybe a 4. Like I don't really like either of the matchups. And then when you get in the second round, you get the Florida Panthers again. Who have better goalie play, who have a 50 goal scorer, who are playing out of their minds, playing good defense. They got one of the best goal differentials in the league at 57 or plus 57. And then if you get through that, you still have to go through some sort of conglomerate of the Rangers or the Canes or somebody out of the Metropolitan. So I just don't see any way for the Bruins to have. It's going to be the hardest way for them to make a Stanley Cup run. And it would not surprise me for another first round exit, which would be even more insane if they win the Atlantic for the second year in a row and get bounced first round. And it makes you wonder. And you're going to start calling them. Yeah. You're going to talk about, because at that point, Montgomery is a regular season coach.
I don't think they get rid of him after 2 playoff exits. Maybe if they get swept, they get rid of him.
But but he's starting to get that stigma, right? Like he's a regular season coach. They're a regular season roster, but when push comes to shove against consistent games, top tier talent, they can't compete.
As a head coach, he hasn't won a series since 2019.
So at that point, there's going to be some questions in Boston if they get bounced first round. Now to the West. I think right now, the way it sits, I'm going to go big upset. I think Vancouver is an upset waiting to happen. I think that they could easily get bounced first round.
Yeah, that's.
However, it's hard to go. I have a hard time going against Hellebuck. I think that like I said, he can win a series on his own. If he plays, he is a brick wall in the crease, and I think that team. It just goes to show, if you look at all the playoff teams, right, and their goals against, the only team that has a better goals against average or goals against on the year is the Florida Panthers at 182. They are 4 goals against better than Connor Hellebuck, and if you were to put those lines up against each other, you would say the Florida Panthers have a better roster of defensemen, without a doubt.
No shot.
Not even close.
They're not even close. Like that's what I was looking for. Who's on their blue line that is of note other than Josh Morrissey? That's why I think the Stars and Avs are their nightmare matchup, because it doesn't matter what happens in the regular season. Once the playoffs happen, it's a whole different ball game. And especially if they play Colorado, their speed, you can't get away with having one defenseman. I don't care how good Hellebuck is. If you guys have one defenseman that can actually play defense and you can't score, Hellebuck can stand on his head and you'll still get swept.
Yeah. They're top two defensemen right now. Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello.
Ugh! No.
DeMello's a plus 39 and Josh Morrissey's a plus 25.
Their blue line's not good enough.
They have Brendan Dillon, he's a plus 16, and Dylan Sandberg, who's a plus 13.
Sandberg's not NHL caliber. Sandberg's being propped up by Hellebuck in a strong system. You look at that defense, and there's only 3 guys there that are NHL caliber, in my opinion. And Dillon's better suited as a 6 defenseman. I think DeMello's better suited as a 4 or a 5. Morrissey's the only guy that's a legit number 1. They don't have enough.
And so it all comes down to, so that tells you when you look at that goals against on the year, it is more Connor Hellebuck than it is anything else.
Exactly.
That right there is why I have a hard time counting the Jets out. But
you better hope he stays healthy.
You got to hope that he is on point every single game, or you're getting bounced first round. Easy choice. But it's funny, at the beginning of the year, we kept waiting for these two teams to fall off. We kept waiting for the Jets to fall off. We kept waiting for the Canucks to fall off. And the Canucks, they started to taper off towards the end. I still think maybe they're coasting a little bit. They don't need to push themselves too hard. They're 6 up on the Oilers. I don't think the Oilers catch them. I think they're a little far. They're too far ahead to really catch them. I have to look at the schedule to be sure, but they're coasting. I feel they're coasting. The Jets, on the other hand, are having some problems, and it is going to be interesting to see how that finishes out. But I'm going to agree with you. It's going to be my dark horse for it is the Canucks. The most likely is the Jets. And just to be clear, they haven't been losing like a lot of games by a lot. Like they lost 4-1 to Vegas, so 3 goals. They lost 3-2 to the Senators, which I think is the worst, and they lost 4-3 in overtime to the Oilers. They did lose 6-3. Like they're actually their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have lost 6 games in a row, 1 in OT. That's how they finished out March, a 6-game losing streak. 1 in OT. They lost to the Devils 4-1, the Islanders 6-3, the Capitals 3-0, the Oilers 4-3 in overtime, the Golden Knights 4-1, and the Senators 3-2.
Just showing me that they can't win.
Yeah, and at this point, I may have to relook at that because they may not win as many of these games as I think they will.
Yeah, I mean that's showing me how many of those did they lose in overtime?
And that was to the Oilers. They lost 4-3 to the Oilers. You got 1
point out of all of that, and that's just showing me this team has run out of gas. It looks like that team has run out of gas.
In fact, in the month of March, they went 7-8-1 in the month of March.
They're done. They've run out of gas. They're done. I didn't know it was that bad. I knew it was bad. I hadn't seen their schedule in depth. I didn't know it was that bad. They're done.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Their wins came against. They did beat the Canes to start the month. They beat the Sabres. Then they lost to the Kraken, and then they played the Kraken again. Shut them out 3-0, and then they lost to the Canucks. Beat the Capitals 3-0, and then they lost to the Preds. Beat the Ducks 6-0, and then they went on a 3-game win streak there, beating the Blue Jackets 6-1 and the Rangers 4-2, and then rattled off a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah, they better hope they don't play Dallas or Colorado in round 1 because they'll get swept.
Oh, yeah.
They'll get swept.
Bad news bears.
Dallas plays the game that they play 10 times better, and Colorado will beat you into the ground and score goals on you at will. They don't have a chance.
Yeah, I don't see any way it works out for them. And what would be funnier is if the Jets do slump out, get that number 1 wild card spot, and just have to go face Vancouver. Have to face Vancouver.
That would be such a bad series just because I think Vancouver would win, but it would be a terrible series.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's the Jets right now. I don't see like a confidence level of them not making it out of the first round. It's a 10. I have it
Yeah,
as a 10. As
I'd
it sits
agree
right
with
now,
you.
they're not seeing the second round of the playoffs. As much as I like
Nope.
Connor Hellebuck, and as much as I think that it's not enough, and they're outperforming their talent level right now. And then in the East, obviously, like I said,
Boston.
it kills me to say it, but until they prove me that they can do it, I'm going Boston. Fool me
I think
once,
that's a fair assessment.
fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I'm not going to get fooled twice. So, but hey, it's coming down. We have no more than 8 games left in the season. By the time we air this, it'll be significantly less. We are looking forward to playoff hockey, people. It is right around the corner. The Stanley Cup is on its way. Hop in the comments of this video. Hop in the comments of all of our playoff videos. Let us know how you see these series going. Let us know your playoff predictions. I want to hear your Stanley Cup favorite picks. Put them down below. Let us hear your words. Let us hear your takes. We want to hear them from you. Until next time, I'm Joe. That's Ian. Be sure to like, follow us, and subscribe on all of our platforms and all the house call offerings we have. You can check out all those channels on YouTube at The Crease. All the house call listings are down there under other house call offerings. You can check all those out. Be sure to also check out our website, which will be in the description of this video. You can go see all of our affiliates there on our link tree. It's linked under our affiliates, as well as our merchandise tab. And be sure to check us out if you're going on the road traveling. Take us with you. We're on Spotify. You can get all of our content on Spotify. Check out all of our offerings, everything there. Until next time, this has been The Crease.